Twilly-dee, twilly-dilly-dee, 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 tweet, 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 tweet.
She talks to the people all night long, chatting and a-gabbing and a-singing her song. All the divas down on Rainbow Street love to hear Toni go tweet, tweet, tweet. Talking Toni,
Tweet, tweet,
talk, talking Toni.
tweet, twilly-dee,
Oh, talking Toni really gonna talk tonight.
tweet, twilly-dee.
Hello and welcome to Talking Toni on the Rudy Radio Network, powered by Strong Island Entertainment. I'm your host, Toni Holmperm. Thank you all for joining me. And we have two very special guests with us today. We have Pastor Gale Jones and Joe Finger, the Outreach Coordinator, both from Long Island Community Fellowship, from right here in West Babylon,
Yes.
Long Island. Now, for anyone who doesn't know, Long Island Community Fellowship is
It's a church that is we claim beyond just being open and affirming. We were established specifically to minister to the lesbian and gay population here,
Yes.
the transgender community here on Long Island.
Yes.
And we will be approaching our 18th anniversary coming this February.
Yay.
And we are very, 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 very
18
pleased.
years, wow.
Yes, 18 years.
Oh, 18, I remember that well. Seems like just yesterday. I
Yes.
swear, it seems like just yesterday. I wish. But yes, and I've been helping LICF, in a few little things,
Yes,
a few
you
little
have.
events and things, and I'm always so happy to do it. And I have to say, whenever I walk through the doors of LICF, it's always such a welcoming experience. And even though you are ministering, predominantly to the LGBTQ
Yes.
community, don't want to leave anyone
Absolutely.
out. But it's also to the allies.
Absolutely.
So it's not so really it's inclusive of everyone, which is a
Yes.
wonderful thing.
What makes I think one of the things that makes us so special is that allies and particularly family members of our members will come in to support their family, and oftentimes the person who came in may have gotten what they needed and have moved on, and the family members
Members
stay.
stay.
And that's just so wonderful.
That
do.
is wonderful.
Yes.
And Joe, what as the outreach coordinator, what is your main purpose?
I work with other organizations that are setting up events. We have done many in the past couple of years. We've supported National Week of Prayer for AIDS and HIV. We have done some work with the Long Island Coalition for the Homeless. We've had our own youth summit in concert with En Blanca, National Black Leadership Coalition Against AIDS. So we've done a lot of things. We collected a ton of things for the hurricane victims in Puerto Rico, and there was a woman's shelter in St. Croix where the roof got ripped off.
Oh, wow.
That we sent 3 huge boxes of products for women to get them through that time until they found another place. So we're not only here on the mainland, but we kind of stretch out. You talk about being LGBTQ. I'm going to add the H on it because we're humanitarians.
Yes, you are.
And we it doesn't matter who comes to us or if we see a need, we're going to do something for them.
Yes, you do. You really do. And I have to point out, Joe, we're both wearing purple because today is Spirit Day.
Yes.
Which no, I'm trying. I wasn't even aware that there was a Spirit Day, and it's so funny because when I was thinking about the show and I woke up this morning, all of a sudden I saw it there on Facebook that it's Spirit Day, which correct me if I'm wrong. It's like to promote awareness against bullying.
Correct.
Yes.
Right.
Specifically, it was created, and right at the moment I'm losing the specific year. However, it was it arose out of the tragedy of Tyler Clemente.
Tyler Clemente, right.
Committing suicide, having been outed at Rutgers University. And that was the immediate response of young people across the country to raise awareness of that. And so since that time, they've designated the third Thursday in October as Spirit Day.
And I have to tell you, Pastor Gale, I just felt like, the Lord does work in mysterious ways, because when I saw that it was Spirit Day and that, you and Joe were going to be the guests, I was like, okay,
Yes.
I guess the Lord is trying to tell me something.
Yes.
I was like, I couldn't have picked like a better day to have both of you as the guests. On
Yes,
Spirit
exactly.
Day. Because that's very important. Spirituality to
Yes.
LICF.
Absolutely.
And specifically, since you do minister to a lot of LGBTQ youth, adults, personally, as a child, my experiences with church were not positive. Do you find that you have a lot of people that initially come in that are maybe, a little wary of church because of, bad experiences, or?
I find people, they're not weary of church, but they certainly have had those very negative, adverse experiences in church. But because they still believe in the connectivity that you find in the assembly of other believers is what brings them through the doors. So a good deal of what they require, what they need, and what they really want is to have some restoration to negate that experience. So we that is our specialty, is to bring people past whatever that adversity was and bring them to this place, because the common ground should always be about love and never about hate and abuse. And so that's what we focus on at LICF.
So do you find that some of these people coming in, that they're in need of some spiritual healing?
Absolutely. That is paramount to what it is that they come in the door for. And we grab them right away, people will come in and suddenly, their hands are up, because I'm very music focused. I think music cuts through everything.
Absolutely.
And once we can start bringing that music to that place, then we can begin to speak and speak to their experiences. So the music becomes like the triage for us.
Yes.
And then we move on from there. Yes.
Yes. Well, I'm a big believer in the power of music.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Joe will tell you. That's one of the common grounds for Joe and I is music, and he'll ask about something that we both of us have the same exact taste, and so once in a while he'll say, because I think one Sunday would I bring in Luther Vandross.
Yeah.
And the power of love, so, but whatever I speak, because I believe that Spirit is speaking to us all the time wherever we are, and that you may find yourself on a bar stool, and in the midst of one of those songs, something is going to hit you and begin to make you, move you to a higher height, so to speak. So, I believe
great.
wholeheartedly in music.
Yes.
Yes.
So how actually do you both work together? What's like an instance that would come up, some sort of a problem, and how do you work together to solve something?
Well, I'll give you my start, and then Joe will give his. But
Okay.
I'm always,
It's like he said, she said.
No, I will get an email, and I'm getting emails all the time. I'm getting emails from various state agencies, various organizations I've worked with, and then I'll be addressing something that really is near and dear to my heart. So I'm giving you one that linked us specifically. I think it was Joe who first got wind of the human trafficking. So when he brought it to me, so I began to talk to him about how I worked in that 20 years ago, and how I worked with a group of people who we began to work with the state to change the laws with regard to arresting young women for prostitution. The conflict being that if in the state of New York you have to be 16 for the age of consent, and if a girl is 14 and she's involved in prostitution, then she cannot have consented because the law says not.
Correct.
And so they were locking them up and letting the Johns go.
Ah.
And then we had to begin to to work for someone to begin to decriminalize what they were doing
Mm-hmm.
and recognize that these young girls were put there.
Right.
And not always of their
They're the
own volition.
victims.
Absolutely. And so we began to do this. So anyway, so when Joe brought that to me, I began to tell him about that. And so it was like this excitement. And so Joe has now taken it a step further, and so begun to work with this really great group here on Long Island who is doing this. And one of the places that they've decided to target is the hotels,
Right.
Because that's
and
where a lot
Joe, before we actually went on air, you were mentioning that about the hotels and training the workers there to
Correct.
recognize. Well, why don't you explain it?
What this group has done is come up with a training course. It's like a 4-hour course. It's
Mm-hmm.
during the day. They give it right to the hotel. They actually go knocking on these hotels' doors.
Mm-hmm.
Many of the big companies, they do have some kind of training class on it. So
Mm-hmm.
the Holiday Inns of the world and everything, they knock and make sure that they've gotten it. But most of the smaller chains don't.
Mm.
So these people actually go in and they train the workers on what to look for. And then if they see something, what to do after that, other than call the police, to try
Right.
how to try to stop the person from leaving with the trafficker. So that's their main focus. They've been training probably about a year and a half, because I've been first know of the organization about a year ago, and they're getting ready to revise the training, and we're going to be working with them on that next weekend. We're actually going to have a new course, and one of the people from the church, she's a college intern working with us, is interested in teaching it. So that's our next thing with the Long Island Against Trafficking.
Wow. Yeah, it's well, as anyone listening can sort of glean. LICF, it's not just a church.
No.
You really
of-
are like a part of the Long Island community and reaching out in many different ways.
part of our mission, when we read that each Sunday, says that we are committed to changing the social fabric of Long Island, of the Long Island, and we want to do it through advocacy, support, and ministry. And so all of the work that we do is focused towards that. Our food pantry is focused towards that. Our work in the shelters is focused towards that. In addition, 4 years ago, the women would actually go into domestic violence centers, shelters rather, and they would go in with this sort of prepping for success once you come out, because there's a whole, there's a hodgepodge of issues that women come in there with, in addition to the violence. That's sort of the top layer, but when you start stripping that like an onion, all these other things, getting them ready. So we're very focused at that. So as I was saying to Joe in the car as we were coming over, this is Spirit Day, which is about focus specifically on anti-bullying, but almost everything that we work on is about mitigating the violence, because violence doesn't always have to be physical.
Right.
So everything that we do is focused around making life a little softer for people. Yes.
Well, that's a
Yes.
great thing. And like I said, whenever I've walked into LICF, it's just such a welcoming place, and seeing people like Eddie Finan,
Yes, right.
Barbara Salva.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, they're just people who have become very close to me.
Yes.
And just recently, I helped Barbara,
Yes.
who is part of LICF,
Yes.
with the cabaret that we did
Absolutely.
to raise funds for Transgender Day of Remembrance.
Absolutely.
Here on Long Island, and that seems to have been a sort of a growing part of LICF, at least to
Yes.
me, like welcoming the transgender
Right.
community, because traditionally churches have not been very accepting
Well,
of
when-
the transgender.
To LICF's credit, Barbara was there when I got there, and I've been there I've been there 8 years, and so we've grown from that. And when I first got here, I think the Tidor commemoration was relatively new. Maybe it's in maybe second or third year. And so since that time, it has grown. But then what we have done to add to that is that we take the first weekend in November because November is considered Transgender Awareness Month.
Right.
So what we do is we open the month up on that Saturday, that first Saturday, and we do a brunch, and we take the time to honor someone from specifically a trans experience, to honor the work and the commitment they've made to the community, specifically to the transgender community. And then on that Sunday, we will have someone who is transgender to come, and they will deliver the Sunday morning message. Last year, we had a very good friend of mine, Kim Watson, out of Bronx, New York. The year before, we had a young minister, a young trans man minister from New York come in. So this year, we're pleased to have the mother of a young man who is transitioning. And so as a matter of fact, we're very pleased and excited because, again, she came in for her son.
Right.
And she's now an integral part of the whole LICF community. So,
That's wonderful.
So when you come in the door, you come as you are. We embrace who you are. Whatever pronouns that you ask us, we respect that. And that's the fabric of Long Island,
Yes.
LICF, yes.
Yes, and it's amazing that a lot of people just don't seem to understand. Just a little acceptance goes such a long
Absolutely.
way with people.
Absolutely.
It really does.
Absolutely.
So it's wonderful that that LICF is there for
Yes.
people like that who are in need of that acceptance.
I think LICF is the most well-kept secret on Long Island. I think we all.
Well, I don't want it to be a secret. That's why I asked you to come.
And we
I want
greatly
everyone to know.
appreciate-
I want everyone to
appreciate this
know.
opportunity. Yes, we greatly appreciate this. Yes.
Yes. And I'm going to be at the brunch.
Yes.
So, and we actually were talking before about me belting out a little tune.
And
So-
let us add that the brunch is free. All we ask is that you give us a call to let us know so we have adequate-
RSVP.
Yes, we have an.
Okay. Make sure there's enough French toast.
Yes,
I like a lot of
exactly.
syrup.
Oh yes, that's precisely French toast and waffles. That seems to be the favorite. Yes.
If there's bacon, it must be crispy.
Yes.
I don't know. I don't know about you, but I hate rubbery bacon.
Yeah.
That is like my pet peeve.
No.
Like
Our senior
oh.
deacon is our chef, and she makes the bacon is exquisite. I always feel like a whole plate of bacon on that day. Yes.
Oh, I don't know if I can eat a whole plate. I might have to
Yes,
undo my course to eat a whole plate of
Yes,
bacon.
exactly. Yes, but no. And if she does an excellent job. So, and like I said, we do it free. This is what we give back. There are a few things throughout the year that we give back to the community because that's very important to us. And I believe us giving back is how we get blessed. And so one of the things that we do is this brunch. And then, of course, we have a fabulous holiday celebration the third Sunday in December. And last year, I think, was the absolute best. We had to move it from our little corridor to the big room.
Oh.
And when we took that picture, and I was like, my heart just filled because I said, this is what the world's supposed to look like.
Yes.
Straight, gay, black, white.
Yes.
Everybody was in the room, and it
Yes.
was just phenomenal. So,
Yes.
and again, we provide food. We assign, everyone in the church will take on a child, and we make sure that they have. Of course, we give a limit, and everybody goes beyond the limit.
Of course.
So we do. We do a number of things throughout the year that we don't ask for any money. Just come in, and we make sure you have the best that we could possibly do. And I'm a firm believer. I'm not going to give anybody something I wouldn't eat, something I don't like. So.
My problem is I like everything.
Yes, exactly. So no, we're very proud, and I think Joe just capsulized it in a way I hadn't thought, but he said exactly. We're very humanitarian.
Yes.
We're
Yes.
very humanitarian, and we welcome everybody in. There are
Yes.
people coming in who are not LGBTQ. They may be coming in from the rooms, the 12-step groups, but we let them know you've got a place in here. So,
Right.
yeah.
Right. Yes. If only more of the world could be like that,
Yes.
it would be a much nicer place to live in.
Absolutely.
If people
absolutely.
could just be a little more accepting. You know what I've always found? I think if people could even just try to be a little more polite.
That's a big thing. Someone said to me, a character of mine, she said, Pastor's very peppery, but she's very polite with her pepperiness. I think I got that from the nuns.
Oh, the nuns! I mean, my father went to Catholic school, and I've heard stories about the nuns. I was did not go to Catholic school.
I went through
but-
the tough 50s and 60s
Oh,
when you were still getting.
the ruler! I heard
Yes.
about rulers, like on the knuckles and
Yes,
things
exactly.
like that.
They don't do that anymore.
No, they can't do that anymore.
Exactly, but yeah,
they
so I
might
went
want to, but they can't.
Yes, absolutely. So, yeah.
Uh.
But the one thing, civility was important. So that's very
Yes.
important to me.
Yes.
Very important to me because, we will walk past people who are on the street or people who are asking, or soliciting money, and we all will instantaneously make a judgment. But one of the things I say, particularly, those of us who identify somewhere on that LGBTQ spectrum, if in fact we are everywhere, that I just can't wait for people to come in nice and clean, coming in, so people are wherever you find them in life, and so I treat them as angels, so to speak, and they could be a lesbian angel that I'm walking by, or it could be a gay. So everybody has a right to dignity.
Absolutely.
And I believe that.
Yes.
I believe that wholeheartedly,
Yes.
with every fiber of my being. I believe that.
Yes,
Yes.
that is so
Yes.
true.
Yes.
That is true. So, Joe, because I don't want you to be so quiet, what does LICF mean to you? If you could capsulize it in just a few sentences.
When I first walked into LICF, I was a mess. I
Really?
truly was. I was. A lot of illnesses and deaths in my family, all in a very short period of time, and I was very angry. So when I walked into LICF, of course, when you first walk in there and you don't know a soul, they're all coming up and saying hello and introducing and hugging and kissing you as you're trying to get to your seat, and you begin to wonder, what have I gotten myself into? Pastor Gale gave a sermon that day on forgiveness, and
And that was how many years ago?
are we together 5 years now, Pastor? It's got to be 5 years, right?
And because I just want to note that 5 years ago, and you still remember
Yeah.
that first sermon that
She
you heard.
gave a sermon on forgiveness that hit home. So at that point, Long Island, it just became the place where I came, originally just for spiritual, to hear the word. And then I don't know what happened. The next thing I knew, I was involved in many of the activities going on. The people of LICF, they are my family. They are my friends. I have nicknames for most of them. We get into mischief together.
does
as
Pastor
well as
Gale have
doing
a
good.
nickname?
No, she doesn't.
Oh.
She is Pastor
Just
Gale.
Pastor Gale.
She's Pastor Gale. 'Cause she might get that ruler out.
That's right.
Some nun left over.
Remember that nun train?
Exactly.
So, but really, that's it. It's become my home. It's become my full-time job. Was retired for. Now I'm retired 10 years. I was retired 5 at the time, and I found myself with a full-time job of just looking for things for us to get involved in.
That is just so amazing that what you needed, though, that first time was that
Yeah.
to hear about forgiveness, and that was
the sermon.
the sermon that you were giving.
Yes.
And I always say I don't know who else she was talking to, and I don't know why there was anybody else in that church, because she was talking to me.
She was talking to you. That's amazing.
Yeah.
You know, that's beautiful. That really is. So, I mean, I guess sometimes you just have to take a step back and look at the big picture and see, how all these things sort of, come together. And I guess, you have to look back at where it's all coming from and
Yes.
say, oh, well, that's who's, weaving the threads,
Yes.
so to speak.
Yes, yes. There are things, and I was telling lately, the thing that keeps percolating in me is that in life it's about the little things. And other spiritual paths claim these things, but if you say you are a follower of Jesus, and if he came and at his worst moment could say forgive, then then forgiveness and love has to be paramount in your life. So we can't get caught up in holding things against one another. And if we can kind of take that out and maybe become beacons to other people, other communities who are make it an active part of their tradition to be hateful, then maybe we can begin to make a change. And so I kind of speak around those things perhaps almost like a broken record, but because I believe that 100%. That makes a difference. It just really does.
Well, I've always believed that, people who hate and hold grudges, they're hurting themselves more than anyone else.
Yes, absolutely.
They're not doing anything to the person that they've got a grudge against or that that they hate. It's like they're damaging their own soul.
Absolutely. When I walked in to a church that actually started me on this path of ministry, I remember week after week he would say, "You sitting here mad and they're at the beach having a good time." And I began to think about that, and I began to realize that when we're being hateful and holding on to people, we think we're controlling the situation. The only thing we're controlling us in our own prisons. And so if we could find a way to get past that, I think the world overall would be a far better place.
Yes.
There's a song I like by India Irie, and she talks about that, and she sings that. She says, "If Jesus could forgive crucifixion, then I can forgive this." And she talks about just across the board. So, like I said, I find messages not in only things that are considered to be specific religious messages, because all of us aren't in church, but all of us need to hear that message. And so you never know who that message is going to come through. And so, when I hear it, I grab onto it, and I'm going to do it in church.
Yes.
Yes.
And we're all lucky that you do.
Yes. Yes, exactly.
Yes, but I've always felt that when you hold on to hate and you hold on to grudges, that's it just eats you up inside.
Absolutely.
It's like and letting go of the hatred and the anger is and I've seen it happen where people do it, and like the relief that comes over them when they learn to do that.
Yes, just let it go. The expression on their face changes. Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Yes. So now, where can people find Long Island Communities Fellowship?
We are at 411 Lexington Avenue in West Babylon. A bit off the beaten trail, but that's our address physically. Coming in off of Southern State, the exit would be, I think, exit 37, which is Belmont Avenue. If you are coming in off of Sunrise Highway, we're at 39, which is Hubbard Path.
Correct.
And you follow us there, and we're there. We meet every Sunday at 10 o'clock in the morning, which was when I came, for me, was really different because I always did 3 o'clock church. I said, "Oh, God, they got me up at the crack of dawn." But no, so we meet every Sunday at 10 o'clock. And because a lot of our people really come through have been former Catholics, so I try not to go past 2 hours, which is a lot for a Catholic. But for those who didn't come through the Catholic experience, it's like we're done already. So you can't make everybody happy.
No.
So I try to get the worship in there, the praise, the party part, the message in, all within 2 hours. And occasionally we might go over, but very rarely. Yes, very rarely.
And on the web, where can they find Long
We
Island
are
Community
at
Fellowship?
www.licf.net.
.net.
Net.
Very
Yes.
important. It's always important to make, because if you put in licf.com, they ain't going to find you.
Or find .org is another organization.
Exactly. So it's got to be
Exactly.
www.licf.net.
Yes.
And you're also on Facebook, correct?
We're on Facebook, and we are Long Island Community Fellowship of West Babylon.
West Babylon.
Yes.
Very important.
Yes, and
important.
we have Twitter, but I don't remember what that is offhand because I don't think we really use
I have
that.
Twitter, and I never use it either.
Yes, I'm like, yeah.
I think I'm too old for Twitter, I guess.
Exactly. It's like, oh, yeah.
It's like I have you see, I work with all these young performers, so they've got me doing the Instagram thing now.
Yes.
But fortunately, a lot of them, they they'll do something and I'm like tagged in it, so I just like, oh, I'll just share it.
Exactly right.
I don't have to do anything myself. I'm just like, just keep tagging me in whatever you do, and I'll share it. I'm fine with
It's
that.
interesting because at a certain age, then a lot of them are in Snapchat. So then
Yes.
my grandson, who happens to be 10, he said, Snapchat and Facebook is for old people.
Oh,
So what do you mean? So apparently the tweens are using TikTok.
oh, something
So
new.
when
I didn't even hear of that.
yes, so when
Oh.
the Old Town Road song became
Yes.
very popular, so commentators said, well, if you're not a fan of TikTok, then you would never have known it because it was the TikTok crowd that
Oh.
propelled him.
Oh.
To hit. Yes.
There you go.
So he would go into the middle schools, and you thought you were in a mosh pit.
Mhm.
So so you got to cover all the bases.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
So, well, I think we're almost at the end of our show. So I can't believe how quick it always
Yes.
goes, because honestly, I could sit here and continue to talk to both of you about all this at length for quite a while. But unfortunately, our time has come to an end. But for everyone listening, thank you so much for joining us. And I hope that you do check out Long Island Community Fellowship. It is a very wonderful organization that is doing so much to help everyone on Long Island, not just the LGBTQ community.
Yes.
So I want to thank Pastor Gale and Joe Finger for
Thank
being
you,
my
Tony.
Yes.
guest tonight. And I guess until 2 weeks from today, I wish you all a very good night, and I will be talking to you soon. I'm Talking Tony. Good night.
Twilly-dilly-dee, 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 tweet, 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 tweet.
She talks to the people all night long, chatting and a gabbing and a singing her song. All the divas down on Rainbow Street love to hear Tony go tweet, tweet, tweet. Talking Tony,
Tweet, tweet,
talking Tony.
tweet, twilly-dee.
Whoa, talking Tony gonna really gonna talk tonight.